Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my favourite legends. Monday, the 24th of November. We've got a week left of November. It's been pretty torrid so far, to be honest, in terms of Upvember and a nice Q4. But we've got a few things to look at this week for potentially some interesting trading. First of all, the long to short ratio peaked, I believe, on Friday at 80% long, which is absolutely insane, by the way. I haven't really seen 80% either way.
Bro, you are not sharing anything.
Yeah, am I not sharing my...
Now you are.
Oh, is Discord just bugging? Is everything good? Massive skill issue. Yeah, is everything all good? Yeah, okay, good, cool. I think your Discord is bugging as well. Anyway, long short ratio coming down from 80%. Still nothing too crazy. Like, we are still at 70% long, but at least this is a major change in the trend or direction in long short ratio. And we would just like to see this potentially continue with some local gains of level would be nice. Quite easy to see on the daily time frame. We potentially have peaked. I don't even want to look at the long to short top traders, to be honest. We have peaked, I believe, at 79 to 80%. And yeah, it just seems like we are quite close. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I feel like this is potentially going to start to turn around on the weekly time frame as well, especially as we are at the sort of like swing for support, which is like 86k as the high and 78-ish as the weekly low. So somewhere in this area, I would expect some sort of bounce, but yeah, let's see how it goes. And yeah, that's about it for long short ratio. Quickly, economic calendar this week. I believe PPI on Tuesday, retail sales on Tuesday, relatively big data points. Not something that I'm going to be trading on or actually taking too much. I'm not going to be taking too much out of that, to be honest. Sorry, that's really... Can you guys hear that? I'm not sure if you guys can hear that next door, but it's so loud. They're always doing something. They're so annoying, honestly. But yeah, I don't think there's anything really too important this week in terms of like data to take heed of, basically. With that out of the way, CoinGlass Legend, yeah. I don't really know why I still use this, to be honest. We go to the hourly. Yeah, not really too much to say here. We do have a bit of a volume node at sort of like 84.5, which would be sort of like the lows that we don't really want to lose, but still looks bearish to me. Nothing really fundamentally changed in the price. Potentially trying to bottom out just because we are seeing a re-entering of shorts in this area, but no gain of level. Nothing really that interesting as of right now. Potentially 84.4, 84.5 potentially, but other than that, just nothing's really changed. Nothing's really changed at all, to be honest. Liquidations, Max Payne. So if we go to the weekly, long Max Payne sitting at 83.3. 2 week long Max Payne sitting at 83.4. And the 1 month long Max Payne sitting at 84.1. We are quite a lot closer to that still at this moment in time, around 83.4 to 84. I believe, did we hit that actually? Did we hit that? Yeah, we hit 80.4. So I feel like we must have taken most of this long Max Payne. Let me just go to a slightly lower time frame. 83.3, 85.1, 85.1. I mean, we've taken most of this stuff. 85.1 is pretty much where we're heading right now for the really local stuff. And yeah, it seems like we're relatively closer to the long max pain instead of the short max pain, although we are getting some shorts come back into the market as we saw. Um, liquidations, I mean, I don't really like CoinAct to be honest anymore. You can kind of just use the MDX Algo tools. But yeah, there's a big chunk at like 93.5 to 95.5 of short liquidations. So moving on to the old charts. Obviously, everyone can feel free to put something in the chat. Is the stream all good? Yeah, we can. Just did for the first time, only slightly. It's like a vibrator. Adrian, it's just okay. Everything all good though, because Discord has been a bit dodgy for me recently as well. Actually, really dodgy for me, unfortunately. Like extremely dodgy for me. Such a weird. Discord's so weird at the moment. I feel like every update they break something and make it really annoying for us to use. But anyway, so Bitcoin. Yes, we've been in a bit of a parabolic downtrend, and you know, there's not really any sign that it's going to stop just as of yet. The high frequency is coming off on the daily, which is quite nice to see. We're getting reactive re-entries, trend changes, and we are seeing shorts re-enter on the support pocket. Now, I know this is not a Stuba, but it's still a valid fib pool, just because we have a new high, and this is the low. So, I mean, I just call every fib, I call every fib pool a Stuba, even if it's not a Stuba in air quotes per se, but this is still a valid fib pool, and this is still very, very valid support. And the reason why is just because it's weekly support swing that hasn't been tested yet, and we are testing it right now. So far, we have a really nice wick into the pocket, and we've kind of tested the lows. It's quite nice. We are kind of approaching the oversold area on the weekly, so maybe we could be in for, you know, 1 or 2 weeks of maybe more down slash stabilization, and then potentially we could see a nice bounce towards 100k is what I would kind of say is the most probable scenario here. And yeah, we could even see as high as 108 to 115. I think this weekly swing is definitely on the cards at some point. 100 is another target of mine if we do get a nice bounce. But just going off the weekly chart, if we were to get some sort of bounce in this area where the pocket is, I do think potentially, I mean, 108 is tested on the weekly, but I don't think 114 is. I think we could see a bit of a nice bounce. I feel like the first target for me would be 100.9. But 115 is untested to the upside, and there is a lot of short liquidity up here. So if we did start to turn around, I feel like people are going to just short this all the way up. And we actually might get a similar scenario to what happened last time here, where people just shorted this all the way up, and we actually popped a new all-time high, and then that's when we swing failed. Again, I reckon Adrian and Stu are going to take care of warning us about that, so I don't even need to talk too much about that. But yeah, you know, it's starting to look relatively attractive to maybe think about re-entering in this area, especially if you sold a lot of your coins, I would say, in this area, which, you know, I know a lot of people did. You're probably thinking about re-entering somewhere here. So, as always, if we go to the lower time frames, though, I still do need to say that we are in a heavy downtrend, and it still has not broken yet. I think the first sort of interesting stuff would be getting above like 88.9 here and going for a test of like 92.5. That would be kind of nice going up to here. That would say, okay, we're starting to build out some of this structure. We might be able to, you know, catch some longs on the 786. As of right now, I still feel like we could have one more, and then maybe we might start to carve out some sort of bottoming structure this week. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, definitely for sure. We actually had a decent close, about 84.6, 84.7. So we closed above this stuff, which is quite nice. And yeah, if we just kind of like check the liquidations, you know, I boxed off that stuff at the low 70s. Trendmaster, combination bands, if they load. Yeah, still in a heavy downtrend. Let's check the volume delta, and we'll also check the retail stablecoin demand. So volume delta, this is an interesting one, as we've had a lot of selling pressure all the way down here, which has obviously been taken into account, like obviously taken over. However, you will find that we're actually having quite a lot of shorts come in around the bottom now, around the 786, basically around the support pocket. So if we do start to see some more like bullish volume come in around here and more shorts come in at the bottom, like we have seen, we saw it go from 80 to 70%. If that continues to fall to maybe like 65, 60%, I think what we're going to see is some local regains and potentially a climb up to retest all this like bearish support. I don't think we're going to get past this. I think this is going to be the cap off for me. But yeah, it looks relatively quite interesting. I think there's some potential stuff going on this week for sure. Let's just see where the weekly open is, and I actually need to check quickly. Yeah, so CME gap has been, well, there is a little bit of a gap. It's been half filled. Nothing really too much to say on that. Yeah, nothing too much to say on that at all. Doesn't look too bad. S&P looks like it's locally coming down a little bit. This isn't really too much to be worried about at all. I mean, I don't, you know what, I'm not even going to talk about the S&P because Viking's going to do it later, so it's a bit of a waste of my time, to be honest. Let us move on. I guess that's about it for Bitcoin. I would say the general gist of my thoughts are that we're still in a downtrend, so I don't want to start longing yet, but I am very interested in this sort of general area, especially with this daily wick. We're oversold. Retail stablecoin demand has gotten completely oversold as well, so that's also signaling some sort of bottom. High confluence, reactive re-entry. We bullishly diverged all the way down here. Lots of short liquidity above. High frequency coming off. It seems like an area for a potential bounce. Let's see it. Let's see something on the lower time frames. Because even right now, if you go to the 5 minute on Bitcoin, what are you doing? You're kind of losing levels. You've just lost the weekly open. 5 minute, you've made a new low. So even there, I'm not really looking at taking it along just yet. Potential though, potential in this area to hold. I just don't really see it. Might get something this week though. Definitely might. ETH. Turn that off. ETH, another one that's actually looking very, very painful. Had the loss of the yearly open at the start of the month. Steadily did a really bearish retest, steadily been falling ever since. I do believe that we also are getting quite close to something here, even if it's just a bearish retest of the weekly open or this whole swing here. This area is actually heavy support, and there's a lot of stuff that kind of lines up here at like 2.5 to 2.6 being a bounce zone for ETH. Also on the daily time frame, we're actually getting a cross as well, which is quite nice. Probably the retail stablecoin demand is going to be the same as Bitcoin. Yeah, that's also nice. So a lot of these metrics are saying that we're due a bounce. So that's kind of what I'm going to be looking for this week. Obviously the 4 hour still in a heavy downtrend, but yeah, I think I might set a few bids down in sort of this area. So if we get that one more, it might be quite a fast like sort of recovery. Now I'll probably go like half position size just because I am kind of catching a knife here, and we are still in the downtrend. But I think that might be a worthwhile bid for me. Anyone going to be bidding 2.5 on ETH? Let me know. But yeah, I think that's gonna be. I think that's gonna be a bid for me for sure. Even if it's just a bounce up to the yearly open, I'll be happy with that. And then we'll actually see what happens. Are we gonna higher lower on the support and go for like all the liquidity up here? Maybe, potentially, who knows? We'll have to see. But I feel like if we drop this level, it's giga wrecked. This is just gonna go all the way down to here, 1.8, and then it's really gonna be, we're really at the lows. But yeah, that's that. Let me just check the chat quickly. Double trouble. Yeah, that's not looking healthy. That could mean that we could have one more and then get the regain. What are you guys thinking? I'll just quickly go through Solana quickly. Solana, we're really down there right now. Really down on support at the moment. I would say that was a pretty bearish close on the weekly. We actually closed underneath this sort of stuff. Again, still support around here. This area, support. If I just extrapolated a box, I probably should have just put a box. Still support, still potential support. And I would say that this chart looks bearish to me though. Ever since this, really. And I would say that even if we did get a bounce here, I would probably be expecting somewhere here or here to fail. And continue the downtrend lower. And now, to be fair, that we have that lower close, all these sneaky closes, I think that this trend has kind of cemented itself as the direction of travel. Now, we are at support. We're actually extremely low. We're actually showing a lot of signs of potential bounce. So it could be that we regain this level quite nicely and then start to rip here, 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 and potentially even up here. I think this is quite unlikely at this moment in time. But I do think this is all on the cards. Up to 200, basically. Definitely on the cards. So I will be watching out for some local regains this week on Solana. Quite interesting. But again, still in a very, very big downtrend. This is a level to gain back for the upside. Yeah, still nothing really on offer here. Got some bullish divergence. Nothing crazy though. Nothing crazy though at all. Still breaking down on the 5 minute. Losing that weekly open. Actually bearishly retested it there. Not really a place where I want to take a long just as of yet. But definitely something I'm keeping an eye on. One other thing I'm keeping an eye on quickly, before I delve into what you guys are looking at, is actually Popcat. I'm actually potentially looking at punting a swing long on this. Sorry, a scalp long. Let's just take all this shit off. Come on. Leave me be. So yeah, this is actually a extremely bearish chart, to be fair. We have made new lows as well. But I do think there's got a good chance of just having a little bit of a bounce. This trade isn't really based on any sort of real reason, like price action, like this is going to change, because we obviously are and it's still in a heavy downtrend. However, I do think there is a potential little bit of a chance for us to just backtest this weekly open and go for the range highs on about a 20% move. The reason why this is kind of nice is, like, if you lose this daily weekly open, you're obviously probably going to go way lower. And the reason why I kind of like this is just, there's actually quite a tight invalidation. Like, you could even put your stop at 1.5% raw. And for that reason, it's not really that much of a risk for me to take something like this. However, I might try to get a little bit lower. Basically, sort of maybe like somewhere in here. and then probably just put the stop like somewhere there, just in case it does that. Because we have actually made a new local high. So, for example, if I put this on, we actually have done a sneaky 1 hour close above. So this is kind of what we were talking about on Fartcoin last week, where it did this. Sorry. It did this. It did this as the low, and then it did a little breakout retest and made a new high. So this is just basically going to be the retest, and hopefully it can go a little bit higher. So I'm kind of interested in that potentially. I might just go half position size around the weekly open, and then if it does start to like do that, then I will, if it makes a new high, I'll probably pull a fib and then put the rest in around the 786 and leave the stop like somewhere here. That's what I'm thinking. I know it's kind of going against the grain, but yeah, just kind of feels nice. Feels like there's not too much room for error. Easy invalidation, you know. So yeah, that's about all I've been looking at potentially. I'm still kind of waiting on the big boys to provide me with something to sink my teeth into. Getting kind of close to like feeling like I should re-enter some of these like alts just on like low leverage. For example, like Aave. So yeah, Aave's back up at its this is obviously the resistance that you want to break to change the trend. Quite nice. Would like to see this like grind a little bit more up into the highs, and then potentially like come down and do a higher low and then break like that. That would be really nice. Bottoming structure. It would look also quite nice on the daily time frame as well. Yeah, like I am definitely looking at some of this stuff. For example, like Aave, which has a very good project and a good community and stuff like that. And it's just been doing something like this, which is bullishly like diverging all the way down. And I would probably take a bet that this doesn't have bullish divergence in the weekly time frame. Okay, but it is. You are seeing the strength line cross above the trend line. So again, high frequency looks like it's starting to come off. Confluence is coming up, which is nice. Strength is coming above trend, and strength is generally gonna probably start to curve around. It might take a few weeks, but we are also in the oversold area. So again, I'm relatively quite alive to looking for some sort of long. I just don't want to jump the gun. I think tomorrow, potentially Wednesday into Thursday, we'll probably get some good opportunity. And then, yeah, maybe tomorrow actually. We'll see. AVAX going completely flat. Again, it's just a matter of at least getting something locally. I'm not really a big fan of that price action, to be honest. Yeah, it looks a bit disgusting. Yeah, not really too much else on a lot of these alts. This hit invalidation, didn't do that. Dot did the same. Render looks a bit dead. What's AVAX doing? It's going flat. Last of all, Link. I think I was trying to catch a little scalp on that. Something didn't really go too well. Yeah, it just looks like we're bearishly retesting a lot of alts as well at this moment in time. Like that. Not something that I'm too interested in at this moment in time. Injective actually still my short all the way from, what was it? $7? A little bit higher, 7.5. This looks like it could potentially have a bounce, but again, it's going to be a bearish retest until we gain like here, but could see a little bit of a bounce again. Again, just going completely sideways this week. Well, at the start of this week. We'll see what happens with the American Open and into the daily close tonight. And then tomorrow, I feel like we're going to have a a lot clearer view, and potentially, if we're lucky, we can catch some longs. If not, we're probably going to dump a little bit further, and then again we'll talk about it. But yeah, even like, for example, Filecoin's actually doing quite well. It's done a little bit of a regain. There was that one coin. What was that one coin that was kind of looking quite similar to it? I think it was Aave. But yeah, that's about it for my update. If anyone has anything, Asta, oh, that kind of broken down a little bit. Yeah, it's not holding the level there. If you potentially longed 1.15 under my guidance, I would be looking to get out of this now. I think I'm going to actually just exit the trade after this stream for about a 1% loss. It was probably on 2x, so probably about 2-3% loss at this moment in time. I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like that break. I don't like that bearish retest, and I don't like that change of support into resistance. I don't like that. Although Aster is one of those really booky coins that just can do that. Kind of like how grass used to be. Grass used to be so ass to trade. Take the GR out, it's ass. Sorry, that was terrible. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stop my recording here. Baby squeeze on the 4 hour. We're gonna have a big move. Bollinger Bands. Okay, let's have a look at those. I do actually have Bollinger Bands on Trendmaster on the combination. They are actually Bollinger Bands as well. What time frame are you looking on, bud? Yeah. Do you know what? I'd say at minimum, guys, at minimum, we're going to get some sort of bounce here. Even if we kind of like break below the lows and like break the structure, I feel like it'll be a deviation at this moment in time. At minimum, we're going to do that. The most bearish thing would probably be that, and probably the most probable. That's what I'm going to expect. That's what I'm expecting. I feel like that's most probable. There's potential to kind of like extend it a little bit and kind of do something like this, which kind of like wrecks all the shorts, and then you get that one pop, and then bang, and then you know how it goes. But yeah, it just does feel relatively toppy. However, you can't actually say that we're in a bear market. This is kind of what like Max is getting at. You can't actually say that we're in a bear market right now because we haven't actually broken the market structure on the weekly. Like you're still expecting this to bounce and even potentially make a new high, because we are making new highs and new lows. However, you can see that this is losing steam. You definitely can see this is losing steam. I actually need to delete that. That's not doing any help. You can definitely see that this is losing steam. Chop chop, possibly small bounce back to 88 into New York, nuke after. Possible counter trade on the sell for the bot, but I don't know. We shall see. What was the last one? The last one was a buy, right? Let me have a look. I've literally got it up right here. So last one was a buy. Yeah, it's not the worst sort of buy. You got the stop at 841. Potentially, there's some liquidations there. Kind of just underneath. I think we are locally breaking down right now. I don't think it looks that good. I think we might see another dump. One thing that could save this is if we come down to this high leverage stuff here. We take that. People start to short again, because there's actually a lot of shorting in this general area. People start to short again, and the bot throws a sell. This could actually be a potentially decent long. The reason that I say that is because, invalidation's not too bad. Like, if you start getting under like this stuff, like, okay, yeah, we can just cut it, but potentially you might just see that and then at least the test up into like 92. Now, like, we might not gain this, we might just do that and then continue lower. Fine. But I think there's a good chance. There's a good chance. There's a good chance. Last but not least, let us check the old price GBT. Check the 4 hour, we'll check the 12 hour, and we'll check the daily and the weekly. So 4 hour says we're going to go down to 72 with a 60% chance. Very, very high chance. 12 hour, excuse me, says 92, then 68. Ooh, that'd be crazy. With a 46% chance. Daily says we're going to hit 78 and then 75. So we're basically going to break the lows and then get a bounce, potentially, probably after this. And the weekly says, which I don't think is that reliable, says we're going to go all the way down to 40k. Wow, that'd be crazy. That would hit a lot of people's targets, wouldn't it? And then blast off to 100. Yo, if this happened, if this actually happened, bro, that would be... I don't want to say hilarious because it kind of wouldn't be, but it also would be like a roller coaster. That'd be a roller coaster, man. But yeah, anyway, for the time being, probably a bit of sideways for a couple weeks, but general area for a bounce. General area to potentially re-enter a little bit. However, at this moment in time, if you're looking for maybe like a long trade, I would say to maybe just exercise a little bit of patience. At least I would have wanted to see this, at least, but that's just looks like a very bearish retest. So yeah, I'll stop my recording.